Last week, we looked at 3 players who I believe would thrive under a new system under Ruben Amorim. Now, if you haven't watched that, I will put a link in the description down below. But now I want to look at 3 players who I believe are possibly in the most trouble when it comes to this 3-4-3 formation, and who I think will be 3 of the first players out of the door. Now, what I've done is I've done a very similar process to what I did last time. I've done a midfielder, a forward player, and a defender or a defensive player. And these are the 3 I think are going to be the 3, possibly the first 3 out the door. Maybe not the first 3, but 3 I would see being dropped, being sold, leaving Manchester United in some way, shape or form. Let's start with the midfielder. And I've gone for Casemiro. For Ruben Amorim's 3-4-3 formation to work, it needs legs in the midfield. Now, you've got that with Manuel Ugarte and you've got that with Kobe Mainoo. I just don't think that Casemiro suits the style. I don't think he has the legs to be able to pull it off. And I think that he is also, to be fair, also on quite a big wage. So I think that he will be one of the ones looking at the exit door in this situation. It's purely down to the fact that, like I said earlier, it's all about legs in the midfield. Amorim plays a formation of where the 2 central midfielders, one is obviously defensive minded but also has to do a lot of running, and then the other is more of a playmaker, kind of box to box in a sense, similar to what you would normally see with a double pivot in a 4-2-3-1. Or a standard 4-2-3-1 in a sense. However, it's obviously exploited and a bit more open to exploitation from the opposition because there's not that third man in that kind of 3. And also, obviously, they're playing a 3-back. But for me, I just think that Casemiro, even though he's played quite well this season so far, will struggle under this kind of system. My only thinking with Casemiro that might save him was that if he kind of transitions into that third defensive centre-back that steps into the line when the play starts, as Amorim starts off with a 4 with a centre-back moving into the midfield to occupy a 3 in midfield. So that may suit Casemiro. But it's not guaranteed. I don't think depending on if he would adapt to that, there's a lot of variables on it. But for me, I think that if he's going to be employed or applied as a midfielder and not as that kind of third centre-back, then he's going to be in a bit of trouble and you might be seeing Casemiro leave the club. Whether it be January or the summer will remain to be seen. It most likely would be the summer, as will probably all 3 of these. Next, I will go with the defensive player. Last week we looked at right side and we went with Dalot. This time I'm looking at left side of things and I'm going with Luke Shaw. Now, for me, Luke Shaw is done at Man United I think he's done with a lot of fans, especially. Purely for the basis that he rushed himself fit to play for England in the summer for the Euros. Played a game and a half, I think it was. And then immediately was back injured again and hasn't played for United since. He hadn't played for United before that since about February, I think it was. So we're now looking at nearly a year club level where Luke Shaw has not played football. And the injuries that are racking up now are getting to a point where it's kind of do or die for sure. And I just don't think he's going to be able to pull it off this time around. There are heavy rumours that Amorim's first target is going to be a left wing back. Neither Shaw nor Malacia give me hope in terms of playing that wing back role. Now, Amorim likes to play one kind of defensive minded, one attacking minded wing backs. Now, if you're going to play like a Mazraoui on the right side, you have more leeway with the left side. Maybe you want to play a more attacking player. You could look at possibly. A lot of people playing Garnacho out there, but he's not left-footed. I don't know where that's come from. But it'll be interesting to see who gets employed out there on the left wing-back role. But for me, sure, the injury issues, the repeated injuries he's having, the lack of game time he's had this season and last, it's just not looking good for him. He's now getting to 29 now. It's kind of I think this would be the time to in a sense cash in, because I don't think you're going to get much for him because of the injury list he's had over the last 2 years or so. I think that he is now at a point where it's kind of the end of the road for him at Manchester United. And it's a shame, really, because he has had some good moments for United, but the injury list racks up massively. It is longer than God knows what, but it is just at that end point now where I think Luke Shaw is done at the club, and I think he will still play. That depends on if he can get fit again, but I think by the end of the season you'll see the end of Luke Shaw at the club. Finally, the forward player, and this will come as no surprise, I think that Anthony is done at United. I think the price tag for Anthony has hampered him heavily. The rumours that were that he was valued at around £30 million when he initially went in for him. If he'd have come in at £30 million, I think there was a lot less scrutiny on Anthony. But the performances haven't been there either. And the attitude he's had when Ten Hag was in charge have shown a negativity that we don't want to see at United. It's something that's been slowly brought out of the culture of United. These players who are seemingly down tools for the manager when things get rough. This is the thing with Ten Hag. I just don't think that happened. I think that things just didn't work as they should have, possibly. But I don't think there was ever a point in which the team stopped playing for Ten Hag. I just didn't think it was working for going forward. And in terms of Anthony, his attitude has been poor at times. The times where he's been asked to play left back or left wing back when we've going for games. The big one against Arsenal, I think it was, where he's then whispering to Gabriel Jesus. Obviously, they're both Brazilian, so they'll know each other in a sense. It's got a lot of fans backs up, and I think that's what's causing a lot of the negativity around Anthony. Now, I've seen some people say that he could be employed as the left wing back, as the more attacking role wing back. Now, you've got to ask him to play that role first, and we've seen in the past under Ten Hag, a manager that knew him really well, that he's not very happy to play left back or left wing back. So whether a manager comes in that doesn't know him whatsoever can then get him to play that and have the great attitude that he has, then we'll see what happens. But for me, I think he will go at the end of the season. At least, I think we're going to have to cut our losses with him, get him sold on, get him out of the team, off the books, and just move on to the next overpriced player that United bring in the summer. But yeah, those are my three guys. I don't think there's any future for them in the system that Amorim wants to play, due to the mitigated circumstances with each one. Now, I had a couple of others that I did want to mention. Eriksen was one, but Eriksen has apparently, according to reports, has said that he is going to leave at the end of the season, so that's kind of a cut and dry done deal. I'm slightly worried for the two strikers. One of them is going to have to step up. Otherwise, I think they're going to bring in a new one. Someone's going to fit the role a bit better. Everyone keeps saying Gyökeres is coming in. If you can get the tune out of Højlund and Xerxes that they've got out of Gyökeres, I think they'll be fine. I don't think they'll want a striker, but it's getting the tune out of Xerxes and Højlund. And I don't know if there was anyone else, possibly Rashford, because Rashford has his doubters and his attitude. It just doesn't look like he wants to play for United at times. Now, it might sound harsh, but that is what it is. That is what it looks like at the moment for United. But guys, let me know, who do you think is in trouble? Who do you think is likely to get dropped, get out of the team? Who's likely to get sold in January or even the summer?